Hi, everybody. It is episode 531 of PodQuest.
Hey.
It is Wednesday, October 16th, 2024. I am Chris. With me is Druten.
Hello.
And Walnut.
Yeah, I'm here.
Man, can you believe it's already the middle of October?
No.
Yes, because I have a constant headache because of allergies.
Fair.
Mine have mostly passed at this point, but I'm expecting one more little, surge of them.
Mine have gotten worse over the past few days. I don't know if maybe it's in part, Saturday I cleaned the living room floor for the first time since surgery, which was nothing but, literally you were walking on a 1/4 inch of dog hair.
Sounds about right.
And so, I don't know if I just kicked up a bunch of stuff that's still floating around in the air, but I've just been...
pet dander.
Yeah.
Even if you're not allergic, you get that much going on, it's gonna do something.
So all day Saturday, I was hacking up, I was sneezing, and ever since, I've just been in a coughing, gross mood.
You seemed all right on Sunday.
Because I wasn't in my house.
Okay, so it's house allergies, not seasonal allergies.
Well, it's probably a combination of both, but yeah, it's primarily something in my house. I don't know if there's mold in my house, or maybe I am allergic to dogs or pet dander in some way.
I mean, it might just be an extreme amount of it because you weren't able to really clean for several months. Also, who knows what the mold situation is in that upstairs bedroom?
And not specifically the bedroom, but the ceiling between the bedroom and the living room.
I mean, that too, with how often your sink has overflowed.
Yeah, that more specifically.
I was more thinking of empty cups and dishes and stuff growing mold.
Yeah. I mean, the thing is, I think the problem also is, and this is why I think it's probably more pet dander or just general dust. I haven't had the windows open since Friday because it's gotten incredibly cold in the past 4 days. Oh, I love it, but that just means no air circulation in my house.
Gotta open those windows. Put on a coat.
I put on. I'm wearing my PAX joggers that I got last year.
Oh, did you actually buy a pair of those?
Yeah.
I don't think I realized that.
I've only worn them for bed, basically.
Yeah, but I was around you a bunch that weekend, and I don't think I realized that you had picked up a pair of those.
I got them first thing Sunday morning.
Okay.
Yeah, I was I want to get merch now. So I got them first thing Sunday morning, and they're comfy.
Man, it is almost PAX season.
It is. We're a month and a half away from PAX.
Yeah.
And I'm just now getting around to playing some of the games I got from PAX last year.
Hey, better late than never.
Yeah.
I have New York Comic Con this weekend.
Nice.
Hey, we'll see. Who knows?
Yeah. I mean, it's supposed to warm up, so...
That's not always good, because when it warms up, it means the convention center gets a little too warm.
Possibly. But it's not supposed... It's mid-70s.
Okay. That's...
I think.
The worst one is when it's too warm out to really wear a hoodie. But not quite cool. No, flip that. When it's just cool enough for a hoodie. The convention center isn't quite cool enough to keep it on, so you end up having to carry it around all day.
What day are you going?
Friday and Sunday.
Friday is going to be high of 69. Nice. And Sunday is going to be high of 76. Lows of 43 and 44 those days. So
okay, so Sunday should actually be pretty pleasant. It'll be Sunday is where it might just be a little uncomfortable walking around.
Mm-hmm.
But it is what it is. Well, it's not just the weather. Who knows what that place will be like with 70,000 people crammed into it?
True.
Mm-hmm.
But either way, yeah, that's this weekend. So I guess next week I'll have that to talk about.
Nice.
It's fucking sure is something.
Mm-hmm.
There was something I was going to ask you guys about. I don't remember anymore. Not even in the slightest.
I don't know either.
Huh.
Yeah.
Should have written it down.
I was listening to Dimension 20. I've been watching all the Dropout D&D or tabletop games. I started with Misfits and Magic, and I've been watching The Ravening War. And I had a D&D question, and now I can't remember what it was. Well, it was, and it wasn't like a question on rules or whatever, but it was a question on a mechanic and what do you think is the best something? Or and now I can't remember what it was.
All right, Drew. What question did you forget?
Fucking unfortunately nothing.
This fucking guy doesn't even come
Right?
prepared to the show.
I didn't come prepared with having a thing to forget in the first 5 minutes.
Exactly.
Look, I also just clocked out of work 10 minutes ago.
Fair.
You should clock out of work earlier.
They
Agreed.
should give us less work.
Just clock out.
Yeah.
Just stop working.
That work will still be there tomorrow.
Yeah.
That's the problem with my department, is everything is high priority and needs to be done same day.
Sounds like a them problem, not a you problem.
Well, but because everything's high priority and needs to be done same day, nothing's high priority. But
I was about to say that.
But it all still needs to be done same day. So, and like, because of the holiday and it being on a Monday, and my office not being closed, which you know what, it worked out better for us. On Monday being a holiday, Saturday and Sunday, we get a lot of work that comes in from Friday night to Monday morning. And then there was no update in reporting from Monday into Tuesday because our parent company is closed on Monday. So they don't update reporting until Tuesday night because all of their work that they would have gotten Monday is the work they get on Tuesday. So we didn't have any new work, but we had a lot of work that we needed to catch up on from the weekend still. But then because we didn't get reporting yesterday, today we got an assload of fucking more reporting. And it's just been constant fires being put out. And it makes no sense.
Yeah, that sounds terrible.
It is. And on top of that, we're only limited to 5 hours overtime a week. Total of 10 hours overtime in a pay period.
So you can work an extra hour a day, basically.
I haven't taken a lunch pretty much in like 4 months. And I generally work an extra half hour, 45 minutes a day on top of that. Like, I'm usually at about an hour and a half every day by the time I clock out. It sucks. It's exhausting.
That sounds terrible. What doesn't sound terrible, though, Rich? What's on the agenda?
Well, Cobb went and got his butt scared at Not Scary Farm. I played a board game that we got from PAX, from Floodgate Games. It's called Skyrockets. We talked a little bit about it back in PAX overview last year. But I actually got to put real time into it this time, so I'll get to talk about it more. And then I started playing Callisto Protocol because I found Alien Isolation incredibly boring and frustrating. And we could talk about that, too.
No, only positives.
Nope. No
I'm going to mute you.
Craig will still hear me.
No, I'll mute you in the actual recording. Not right now.
That's mean.
As soon as you bring up Alien Isolations. Sorry, it was so boring that we didn't hear you.
And that's about Alien Isolations right there.
So you're not excited for the sequel or remake or whatever they're doing?
No. Like, I mean, I can get into it now about Alien Isolations, or we can get into it later about
it.
I
mean, we'll get into it later.
Yeah, I don't really care for it after having played Alien Isolation.
Understandable. But yeah, so I went to California over the weekend and went to Knott's Berry Farm's Knott's Scary Farm.
Bob went across the country for a haunted attraction where he lives in an area that has like 30 haunted attractions.
Yeah, I've been to all of those.
But weren't you at Knott's Scary Farm last year?
It was 2 years ago, and we didn't do all of it because we were fucking exhausted.
Well, when was the last time you were at Eastern State Penitentiary?
3-4 years ago?
So it's been longer.
Yeah, but Eastern State changes like every 6 years.
Look, I'm
and
just
is lame.
What about Creamy Acre?
We did that one 3 years ago, I want to say. Or was that last year? No, we went to New York last year, so that one would have been 3 years ago.
There was one I did a while back.
Six Flags.
Six Flags
sucks.
Six Flags does suck.
Like, we did that one a number of years ago, and it just... That one and Universal Studios actually is not all that good.
I mean, I believe it.
Like, everyone's always all about the Universal Studios Hollywood Horror Nights, and if they did what Knott's Berry does, I think it would be at least marginally better. But the problem is they don't do the park clear, so they can't do any of the in-park scary stuff until much later. So Knott's Berry actually closes at like 5:30, I want to say, and then reopens at 7 for the Halloween stuff, and they're open 7 to 2 a.m. So when they do the park clear, they have signs that like under 13 you're not really even supposed to be allowed in, and under 18 you have to have a parent or guardian with you.
I want somebody to bring a garden with them.
Yeah, exactly. Universal they're just open the whole time, so they don't send actors into the park until after 10 o'clock. And there are so many people that even with like fast passes going into the haunted attractions, it's just 50 people at a time. There's no real gaps between anybody, and unless you're the very first person after like an unintentional break, you're almost never actually getting any of the scenes playing out because all the actors and stuff are resetting. So I think the only time that stuff probably works out is if you go super late at night and you just do one or two of them because the lines are so long, or you have the money to do like the super VIP where like somebody there takes you through everything like separately. But yeah, I do not recommend Universals. Knott's Berry though, highly recommend. Like I said, they do a full park clear and then open it back up at 7. So when they open it back up, they've like pumped a bunch of fake fog into the park and everything. Like they really do make it creepy. And some of the areas already have just during the day they're probably very pleasant, but at night there's already a bit of a creepiness factor because there's like a ghost town and this like lake area that just it feels haunted at night. Especially because I don't think the park is normally open super late, so there's just not a lot of lights. The lights that they do have are dim and usually like colored lights, so it does cast like weird shadows on things too. And then you just have like the actors and stuff like running out of the fog at you, like trying to scare you. And they're not part of any of like the attractions per se, so they'll actually like follow you around. Like if they get a reaction from somebody, they'll like stick with them for a little while. And each section of the park has like a different theme to it. So the first section is like the ghost town, and that's like its normal name, I believe. It's like an old west town. It's where they have their wooden roller coaster. So a lot of those guys are like dressed from like out of the 1800s, like different sorts of monsters and zombies and weird shit like that. Then they have like a Roaring 20s area where everyone is dressed in like flapper dresses and like old like pinstripe suits and things like that. They actually had like a big band playing on top of one of the buildings of actual people. But they were all supposed to be like zombies and monsters. And then when you go into the carnival, it's all like clowns and circus performers and stuff that are running around scaring people. And then the last section, I don't know what the actual area of the park is supposed to be, but the theme for it is like more medievally. Like honestly, it reminds me of stuff you'd see in like From Software games. Like the enemies in that, it kind of reminds me of how some of these people are like made up to look.
Yeah.
And then outside of like those like just people wandering around like scaring you, they have 10 mazes throughout the park, and they usually, judging by some of the dates and stuff on things, it seems like they cycle them out like 1 to 5 years, depending on like I guess how much effort it took to make them and how popular they are each year. So there were three or four brand new ones. There were 2 brand new ones. There were like two or three other ones that were like new to us that weren't there 2 years ago. And then a couple that were there 2 years ago that we just didn't remember. Because that was the trip where we drove from Seattle to LA and we did the majority of the driving on like Wednesday and then finished the driving on Thursday, went to Universal Thursday night, and then went to Knott's Berry Friday night. So like that Friday night we were barely like functioning.
Fair.
And I want to say like we got there at 7 and we left by like 10:30 or something like that. Like we were not there super long. This time we were there, we did all of it. We were there till like 1:30. We saw a couple of the shows they do, went through all the different mazes, and they have a lot of people there too. Like there are certain times where like you are kind of in some of these haunted mazes and there's just too many people, but they do a good job of making the mazes creepy, even if you're not getting like the jump scares from the actors. And having the actors kind of spaced out in a way where if one of them gets the people in front of you, the next one kind of like knows that a group's coming and holds off and gets the back half of the group. So like everybody kind of has a chance to get like those jump scares out of them. And like I appreciate that because that's some of the fun is like the actors just kind of like startling you because you just didn't expect them to be there. And I know that it's super common for those sort of attractions, but they seem to have like paths behind the walls for the actors. So like there were a couple of them where somebody would jump out and scare people, and then they would kind of disappear like into the shadows and pop out like 2 rooms later in front of us. And like you can tell it's the same person. They just had like a way behind the scenes to get from like point A to point B without actually passing us. I always think that stuff's cool.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, all the haunted houses were cool. Some of them were better than others. They had like an 1800s styled like boogeyman one that I thought was actually a little dull. But then they had one that was like a house of wax that like slowly descended into like a demonic possession thing, where like this weird doctor was like summoning demons into these wax dolls and things. And they just did a really good job with all the wax puppets and like having them look both real and melted. So yeah, and then they had one that was actually it was supposed to be, what's the word I'm looking for? Like a look back at, they've been doing this for 50 years. So it was like a look back at like the 50 years of like haunted attractions they've done. So as like you're walking through it, you're seeing like things from different mazes and stuff they've done over the years, and there's a lot of memorabilia and like even like a little mini graveyard in one of them that has the names of a bunch of the haunted houses they've done and like the years that they ran for, which I thought was neat to see. Because I didn't realize they've been doing it since the 70s. Like I thought it was something in the last like 10 to 20 years, but yeah, like 50 years they've been doing these haunted houses. And then yeah, they have 3 or 4 shows, I want to say. We saw like a circus performer one, where there was like an insane clown that kept killing the circus performers after they performed, which was kind of funny. And then we went to this one that it wasn't like really a horror or Halloween themed show. It was more just an adult themed show where they made like a lot of like crude jokes and stuff like that. Some of it was funny, some of it wasn't. It was very pop culture heavy. So like at one point they had somebody dressed up like Wolverine and Deadpool come out and like fight. At the end of it, the whole thing was they had to hang somebody because it was the Hangman show or something like that. So they decided they needed to hang Justin Timberlake for being the worst, and like no one really seemed to get that one. So, but overall, it was a good time. I'm glad we went. We also went to a pirate themed dinner show, like dinner theater, which was weird but cool. And we drove down to San Diego for the day. Which, Drew, you've been to San Diego before, right?
Yep.
That's a nice place.
Yeah, it's amazing. But
Yeah.
it was like, aside from the one day when we were there that was super hot, the weather was amazing. And yeah.
Yeah, it was weird. Like the weather in LA was decent in that morning. And then we drove to San Diego and there was like a 45-minute to an hour long stretch where it was just foggy and gross out. And then all of a sudden we got to San Diego and it became sunny and nice again.
Mm-hmm.
And like we didn't really do anything down there because we only had a few hours, but like we parked and wandered around like the gas lamp district a little bit. We walked down to where the convention center is and like by Petco Park and then back up to where we were parked. Like, yeah, there's a lot of restaurants and like cool buildings and stuff over there.
Yeah, we stayed like a couple blocks from that area when we were there. So
You were there for a few days, right?
yeah, we were there like, what was it, 4 days? Or like flew in on Thursday. We were there Friday, Saturday, Sunday, flew back on Monday.
Right.
So
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was one of those places where like we were talking, like even as we were walking around, like this would be a fun place to like come back to and spend more than like 3 hours.
yeah, for sure.
Because it was one of those, we just, knowing what traffic gets like down there, like getting to San Diego was only like an hour and 40 minutes. Getting home was 3 hours for no particularly good reason.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, like that might be some place that we just kind of go back to at some point, spend like a long weekend, kind of like you just described.
I would recommend it.
Yeah, seems like there's lots of cool places to eat at, if nothing else.
Yeah, plus like the zoo, which is
Oh, that's
technically
right.
2 zoos. Like,
Oh, I didn't know that.
yeah, there's the zoo, and then there's, I forget what the other part of it is called, but it's like the safari area, which is a whole separate
Oh.
thing in a whole different place. Like,
Oh yeah, I did not realize that.
don't go to SeaWorld though.
No, fuck SeaWorld. They killed that baby shark in Jaws 3 and have done all sorts of awful things like in real life too.
It's also the wrong SeaWorld, isn't it?
I mean, yes, Jaws 3 was the Florida SeaWorld, but SeaWorld is SeaWorld.
Yeah.
They're both fucked. But yeah, definitely recommend, like, if people like the haunted attraction stuff, Knott's Berry does, they go all out for it in a way, and like have the budget to go out in a way that some of like the smaller ones like around us can't, even though like stuff like Creeping Acres is a lot of fun. Like I do like going to that one. But this one just has like a different type of production budget. And plus they have like all the boysenberry stuff, which is delicious. So
True.
Yeah. But Rich, how about you talk about this Skyrockets game for a little while?
Yes. Skyrockets. So it's a game from Floodgate. They make a bunch of different games. I remember they made that Love Connection game that you and Eric played that one year at PAX. Let's see.
Okay, yeah, I remember that game.
They make Sagrada, Fog of Love, Decorum, a bunch of other stuff. And this one, Skyrockets, is a game where you're magicians. You're wizards. You're not magicians. You're wizards, and you're shooting off. You're making like a fireworks display for people to watch. And the basic easiest way to explain it is like it's kind of like Angry Birds or something where the goal of the game is to get 3 stars, or at least to have a passing score of 1 star. You start with 3 stars, and every time, and you have 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 sand timers. As every time one of the sand timers empties out, if you haven't flipped it by playing a card that is the same color as that sand timer, you lose a star, and if 3 things fail, game over. However, the point of the game is you have a certain like specific color sand dial that has to run out. When that runs out, you then play its card and you flip it to the next part of the track, and the goal is to get it all the way across to the button to shoot off the big finale of the firework display. What's really cool about it is, first of all, it comes with little paper cards that you can like keep track of your score, who was playing, how well you did, so how many tries it took you to complete each game, stuff like that. And there's different cards based on like whatever session you're doing. So there's 30 event cards, and each one has slightly different rules. So like for instance, game number 2, the second game you play after the training game, you place 10 random firework cards on top of the end button, face down. You then deal 2 cards to everybody, so everyone's hand starts at 2. Then when it comes to your turn, you either play one of the 2 cards in your hand, or play the top card from the card covering the button. If you play the top card from the card covering the button, you still draw a card. If you play a card from your hand, you draw a card. So you're not limited to 2 cards per hand, but you're dealt 2 cards at the beginning.
Okay.
You cannot win until you use up all 10 cards from the button first. So you can get to the 1 on the tracker, but you can't move it from 1 to the explosion to the button until you clear those 10 cards. All the while, you're still trying to make sure the other timers aren't going down by playing their colors as well. Each card has 2 colors on them, so you may have a card that has purple and green. If you play a card that isn't a card that, or if you play a card that's the card that's on the tracker before it runs out, it doesn't do anything. It just keeps going until it runs out. You don't keep flipping it until it runs out and then you flip it again, flip it to the next tracker. No, you don't flip it. So if purple is your color and you play green and purple, you just flip the green, you don't flip the purple. Some of the other games, we were looking through some of these other cards, and I'm trying to remember what one of the crazier ones was that we saw. There's an entire section of events that they call what is it? It's just called like silent. The ridiculously loud sound of silence. And so some of those, the card just straight up says for card number 14, game number 14, you may only talk while the countdown timer is empty. So you can't communicate at all. You can't talk in some of these. Or one of the ones that we played was, it's a card where you're dealt 5. Yes. You're dealt 5 cards, and on your turn, you can either play a card from your hand and skip drawing a card, or play a random card from somebody else's hand. If you play a random card from somebody else's hand, you then draw up to 5 cards so that you can have a hand of 5. You are allowed to communicate with everyone what they have. You're just not allowed to tell them where it is. So if you think, oh,
Okay.
if we need to flip a purple, you can out loud say, like, I need to flip a purple. Who's got purples? How many do you have? Something like that. But you got to move quick, because I think the longest timer is maybe a minute and a half, and the shortest timer is probably like 20 seconds. Like, each of them, 20 seconds is probably a little short, but like, each of the colored timers are shorter, or are different times. So, like, you're going to be constantly flipping the red timer more often, because it's the shortest time. Whereas you might be flipping the yellow timer less often, because it's maybe a little bit longer. And then the really cool thing, which we haven't done, because we only did 4 games. We did the training, and then they break it down into festivals. 3 games each is a festival. And they have, like, a breakdown of what each of the festivals are. So, like, 14, 15, and 16 are quiet games. Whereas, and it even gives you a little hint of, like, what the kind of game could be. So the next set that we have to do, 5, 6, and 7, it's called Blast Off, and it's a little bit more strategic. You have to strategize and figure out what you're going to play. Street Magic is, like, 17, 18, and 19, and they call it a little bit more of, like, a puzzle set of games. And then if you do all 28 of the initial cards that they give you, you have an envelope that has 2 more that it says don't open until you complete the first 28. And it's an encore. And there's actually, I haven't looked in it, I haven't read it, I kind of just want to, but there's like a token in there as well. So there's like a new game token in there, and stuff like that. So it's going to be really fun to get into. But Drew, me and you played this. Me and you went and talked to Floodgate.
Yeah, it was cool.
Yeah. It's a really cool game. I absolutely enjoyed it. It's a great concept. Now, granted, I believe, if I remember correctly, when we were talking to the guy from Floodgate, he did say whoever plays the card is the one that has to flip the timers. We didn't do that, and ended up, like, people were helping each other flip timers when they played the card. I feel like that just made it a little bit more fun. Instead of, like, one person flipping the timer at a time, it's like, hey, I played this card, and they flip, and somebody else helps them, because it's like, sometimes you play the card, and it should count that you played it and have to flip it, but you just didn't get the time. Or, like me, I have very bad motor skills, and if things are close together, I'm knocking shit over. And so, like, I can do one real quick, but doing one and then moving to another is not easy for me. So, like, I need more space for this game in order to play it comfortably if I'm the one always flipping just the cards I play. So, like, we didn't play that way. We played it to where, like, if somebody played a card, we could help each other move it. But, like, it's also, I forgot that rule, and I didn't really enforce it, because I just was there to have fun and try it out.
Sometimes that's what you got to do.
Yeah, there was an instance where even in the training, we almost used every card in the deck somehow, which makes no sense, because, like, some of the later games we did, it's like, I'm trying to find which one it was. I think it was game 4. We had 5 players, so you deal 8 cards to each player. That is it. That's all the cards you get for that game each. So it's 40 cards total. And what you do is you flip the yellow timer, which is 50 seconds. And you have 50 seconds to organize 4 cards in your hand and 4 cards face down in a deck. And then when it comes to the gameplay, you can either play any of the cards in your hand or the top face down card in your deck. So we beat that in one try, but we somehow almost decked out in the training mode, which made no sense to me. But yeah,
Sounds like a cool game though.
It is. I'll try to bring it around next time we have, like, some sort of game night or something. To just see what you guys think about it and give it a shot. Oh, this one's my favorite. This one is my favorite, but also scary. This is Event 9. It's called First Light 5th Day. Once the game starts, hide the countdown timer and track behind the game box, so no one can see it. When you play a card matching the countdown timer's color, you may, but don't have to, choose to reveal the countdown timer. If it's not empty, you lose. If it is empty, you flip and advance the timer to the next tracker, to the next part of the tracker, and then hide it again.
Okay.
So you may lose because you timed it. You might have the timing just right, but you might have played it and decided to pull it just a little too early. But you have to hide that. And I'm like, oh, that's scary. That's rough. Yeah, we were looking through some of these. One of them looks like you have to stack the timers, which is wild to me. When flipping a
Like actually
non-countdown,
put the sand timers on top of each other.
yeah,
That's kind of cool.
when flipping a non-countdown timer, stack it on top of another timer, or take it off the top of a timer stack. You cannot stack timers on top of the countdown timer. Cards don't affect timers beneath other timers when using a crowd token or an empty timer beneath another timer. Remove it from the stack and flip it as normal. So yeah, you have to. If you're playing green, if say you play green and purple, you have to put green on top of either yellow, orange, or blue, and then purple on top of yellow, orange, or blue. And then if you were to play, say you put green on top of yellow and purple on top of blue, and say you go to play yellow and purple, you can move the purple one, but you can't move the yellow one because you have the green one on top of it. So you have to play another green one to remove that before you can play a yellow one. That's wild. Some of these, it's like there's no turn order. You can just play. Just everyone gets to play, and work on things. One of these is like you don't have a hand. You set up 15 cards in like a pyramid style. Yeah, I like the concept of like, oh, each time you play is basically different because they created 30 different game modes with this game.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and it's really fun. It's really chaotic. It's really hectic sometimes. I unfortunately forgot to bring my mount for my phone, so I wasn't able to record a lot of us playing. But I am gonna work on making like a more scripted, better video for the game to talk about it online. Gonna try to get that out within the next few weeks. But yeah, it's a really cool game. Like it's just cards and timers and sand timers. That's it. And it's really fun. I really liked it, and I was excited to finally be able to play it because like this is one of like 3 games I got from developers that like I was really interested in, and it's just one of the like 10 games that I got at PAX in general that I haven't been able to play. On top of the other 20 games I've gotten over the past 30 games I've gotten over the past 3 years of PAX that I still have never gotten around to being able to play because we don't do board game nights anymore or as often.
Well, maybe you should just start playing more board games.
I would if I had people to play board games with more often.
Invite people to play board games.
I can't invite people over to my house.
I'm to my brother's on Tuesdays.
I gotta stream on Tuesdays.
All I'm hearing are excuses.
But also,
Right.
Tuesdays are just always like exhausting. I'm always exhausted on Tuesdays. I just want to relax at home on Tuesdays. Don't leave the house.
I mean, also in fairness, inevitably, lately we've been winding up with like way too many people to play like standard board games. But also, although I guess if we get to a point where it's really too many people, we can split into like 2 separate board games. But we've just been playing a lot of Clock Tower.
Yeah, and that's kind of the problem with doing board games is like there is that limitation of players. And like we had 5 people with us on Saturday night. So it's like, okay, that's a major limitation. One of the games I brought is only a 2-player game. And like I knew it was only 2 players going into it. I had expected to have more time. Like I was trying to get there early so that I could like set up and whatnot, but I ended up being late. But like it was lucky that this game was 5, and it was lucky that like one of the other games I brought was 5 that we didn't even get around to playing. But it's just like that's the hardest part. It's like how do you come up? How do you decide what 3, 4, 5 people to invite to figure out? And are they able to like? How often were they commit and whatnot? And board game nights are hard to figure out because then it's if you have 5, but that means you're limited to only X number of games, X style of games.
Yeah,
So
and like
it's
some games don't like maybe they support 6, but like they don't play as well with 6. They really play the best with 4.
Yeah, and that 4 is generally what the best number of players is for a lot of board games is 4. Like most board games are made for 4 or less, for 4 players. Like on average, I think it's 4 players is what the average board game is. So
yeah, you're probably right.
Probably right. Yeah.
yeah, it's hard, but it's fun. I'm hoping to play at least one of these other games that I got from developers within the next month or so. Specifically the 2-player game. I'm sure I could play that real easily. Find somebody to play that with for a few few rounds, and make content out of that because I totally dropped the ball on these. I totally did. I had plans to start this board game night back in January of this year, and the person who was supposed to put it together never put it together. So then it was like, hey, well, when's this happening? Oh, I'll do that. Hold on. And it never happened multiple times. And then I had surgery, and I was laid up for 3 months. So I couldn't really leave the house and do stuff. But yeah, Skyrockets is a great game. Floodgate Games, Skyrockets Festivals of Fire. I believe it's like new. I think we got the copy we got was basically a preview copy. Like it hadn't even been released at the time of PAX.
Yeah, I'm 99% sure they said it was coming out in early 2024. So
yeah,
we know if it's out.
It should be. I'm sure it is. We can just check Floodgate's website.
Yeah, you can buy it on Amazon, among other places. So it's definitely out.
Yeah, no, that works then. Cool. Just want to make sure.
Yeah.
But Rich, you also played Callisto Protocol, which I absolutely typed Calypso Protocol earlier and then looked at it and I'm like, that doesn't look like the right game.
No, that's not the right game at all. Yeah, so to start, I decided to give up on Alien Isolation.
No, I told you we're not talking about that.
Nope, I'm talking about because I find that game I find that game incredibly boring. The first 4 hours of the game, you see the alien once. It's
Alien Isolation.
No, but it's Alien Isolation, and I was around people most of that first 4 hours.
But man, you love things where the thing that's in the title doesn't show up for hours.
Oh,
you love Godzilla.
That's the thing. That's different. That's different because Godzilla, there's still the threat of Godzilla. Alien Isolation, there is no threat of alien until 5 hours into the game. Like, they make mention of the alien pops up once or twice, but it doesn't chase you. That's the point of the game, is for it to be chasing you. But like,
though?
It is. You're supposed to be hiding from this alien this whole time, trying to get off this space station. But it's like the first one, like the second area of the game the first area of the game that you go into, you're hiding from humans. The second area, you're hiding from androids. And then the third area, the area that I decided, yep, I'm not feeling this at all. You are finally hiding from the alien itself. But you don't actually encounter the alien until like a bit of the way into it. Like the first two areas, you hear the alien and you see it, but it's not chasing you. But the worst part is the AI for the alien, in my opinion. Because from what I'm told, I haven't really looked into this, but from what I'm told, the AI for the alien, there's two of them. There is the alien's AI that just tells it to walk in a certain way, in a certain pathing. It doesn't know at all where you are, but it knows to wander a path. Then there is a background AI that knows exactly where you are, that gives hints to the alien AI to let it know where to go to find you, but not tell it where you are, which is stupid because the whole point of the game is to hide from the alien. And so if I go through a door and the alien didn't see me go through the door, how does the alien know to go through the door?
Magic.
Exactly. It makes no sense. Like, that's what lost me. Like, I'm fine with playing like Resident Evil 2 where you got Mr. X chasing you. I'm fine with Resident Evil Nemesis where you got Nemesis chasing you. Those are like scripted scenes more so, especially Nemesis, but like I don't mind the idea of like a constant creature chasing you, trying to hide from it. But like, yeah, the idea that like I can't even like stun it or paralyze it to run away. At one point it looked right at me. I threw a flashbang. It screamed and lunged at me. It was supposed to be blinded because I threw a flashbang. And it didn't even react to being flashbanged.
You don't know how aliens work.
There was another point where I walked up to a door and pressed an emergency close, like a lock button, or at least that's what I thought. There's a button next to this door where you can press it and it'll close the door. The alien just walks right up to the closed door that I'm on the other side of, not moving and being silent, and just walks right up to the door. The door opens and he sees me. The alien shouldn't have known I was there because I closed the door well before the alien was even in the region that I was in. There's no reason he should have had pathing to come to me, especially if the door was closed.
He could sense you.
But then I can hide inside a container, and he can't sense me. Like,
They're airtight.
no, I can see through the little air slits of the locker. Like, it is just like, I don't know. It really just didn't click with me. I don't get, like, I hear people say that game's fantastic. I remember hearing a lot of good about it when it first came out. Like, they just announced a sequel to it. But like, I don't understand how I can take an elevator to go down a couple of floors from where I just was, and then run out of the elevator, and the alien is literally in the room that I just went to. And when he didn't even know that I went into an elevator. It doesn't make sense. No, it doesn't make sense, and that's like where it loses me, and it sucks because like I was looking forward to it. But yeah, so I ended up not liking that game at all, to the point where I was just like, screw it. I'm gonna move on to the next 2 games of my space alien horror games, which is first one is Callisto Protocol, the other one is Dead Space Remake. And I'm like, I like this idea because I'm playing 2 games created by the same guy, just from different teams. I'm going to be able to like compare them and see how they work. And I'm very much enjoying Callisto Protocol. Like, it's got some atmospheric spooks, but it's not like super scary. And like, there are some jumps and some like crazy things that happen, but the horror aspect is more like gore in this one. It's very much more of like a gory type game. The aliens, the creatures, when they kill you, they rip your head off, like from chin. They grab the top of your top teeth and your jaw, and they rip the top of your head off, or they just start beating down on your face and stuff like that. It can be incredibly gory, and some of these creatures can come out of nowhere. And there was I just went through an instance where I was basically dealing with clickers from The Last of Us.
This is the game with like all the gnarly like death animations, right?
I guess so, yeah. I mean,
Like,
I've had my head cut off, I've had my head ripped off, I've had my head beaten off. I don't remember how, like, my head has been destroyed so many times. But I also don't really die that much.
I don't know, it sounds like you die quite a bit.
And that was before I learned the combat system, really. Like, I died 3 times in the tutorial of learning how to play the game during the intro sequence of learning how all the combat worked. I died like 3 times, and then since then I've like maybe died once or twice. That's about it. Like, it can be the combat system's interesting because there's no real like tell of if an enemy is going to attack. Like, you can see them swinging, but the timing for a dodge, like, you don't have to hit L1 to parry or whatever. It's all with the control stick. So if the enemy is swinging, and you don't even have to hit like dodge in a specific direction. So if the enemy's swinging with their left hand, you don't have to go right. If the enemy's swinging with the right hand, you don't have to go left. It's just, if an enemy comes up to you and goes to swing, and you move your movement stick and hold it to the left or to the right, he's going to automatically dodge out of the way. And then sometimes the enemies attack multiple times. If you hold down, the character will block, and you'll take a little bit of damage with the block, but you then get like the chance to do a counterattack and stuff like that. I don't really shoot the gun that often because like it seems like your melee weapon is incredibly overpowered. I went through the first half of the game with only the starting gun when you do eventually unlock a schematic for a second gun. I never built that gun because, and I don't know what ammo that secondary gun that you get the schematic uses, if it still uses hand cannon ammo or something else, but the first half of the game, you only have 6 inventory slots. And the second half of the game, you get 12. Which, I mean, doesn't seem that much more, but you double your inventory slots. But the way you get like stronger equipment is through credits. And the best way to get credits is by selling things. So there are things that you find around the world that are like a converter is worth 100 credits. You can find 3 converters, but they don't stack. So you have to you would then have 3 spaces held on your inventory for these converters. I find myself dropping like the batteries for the special gauntlet more often than I do keeping them. I end up selling. I generally hold onto 1 healing item ever and end up selling if I have any more than 1. I went to, like, as I was ending the game last night, I had like 3 or 4 healing items that I just sold because I don't need them and they're just taking inventory space.
I've always thought it was weird when games like that have specific healing items for some reason, because I feel like they're just more akin to either regenerative health or just finding like health packs on the ground.
And that's the thing about the game. Like, it's when you kill an enemy, you have to go up to them and smash their body with Y. And if you do, you have a chance to either pick up ammo, pick up the batteries for your special magnetic arm thing, picking up credits, or picking up just health that will heal you automatically as you pick it up. I end up healing from that more often than I do healing yourself with a healing item. On top of that, the healing yourself with an item takes time. So if you're in the middle of like a fight sequence, you can't just like, oh, let me heal real quick. Like, he has to get down on his knee, put the gun to his neck, and shoot it into his neck, and it fills up your health. Like, it's not a fast process. So it's like, well, there's no point in holding more than 1 of these items because you're wasting inventory space. The sequence that I ended last night with, this is the other like minor problem, is the locations or the kiosks that you need to go. It's like a 3D printer basically, and you 3D print like different chips and upgrades to your guns and weapons and things. Those kiosks are so infrequent that I got to one yesterday and I had about like 7 out of 12 inventory slots with just sellable items. And I'm like dropping ammo. And like I had 3 health kits. I had like 1 really good sell item with sort of 750 credits, 2 really good 500 credit sell items, a 200 and a 100. So like I had 5 plus like the 3 health kits, so I had 8. And like at times I was like, well, I'll carry 1 stack of each ammo type now. Because I mean, I don't need to carry more than that. Because I don't use it. I don't shoot. The game's easy enough. Like, it's not hard. I'm playing on normal difficulty. It's not that hard to where I need to worry about like ammo management, because the melee, like the game is built mostly around the melee attacks. And with the way the melee attacks work, if you hit an enemy enough times, it'll then have a box pop up on the enemy where if you take out your gun, he will auto aim to that point of the box and shoot that point. So like it'll aim at the head and it'll hit the head, or it'll hit, like, some enemies will start to mutate and have tentacles come out of their chest. It'll auto aim at the chest and shoot that to keep them from turning into a mutated monster. And I'm sure there's a lot of times where it seems like the game wants me to like avoid an enemy, but I'm like, well, this enemy generally I get 100 credits every time I kill them, so why wouldn't I just kill them?
Yeah. Some of what you're describing reminds me a little bit, or makes me think of Doom 2016, like where like killing with melee is definitely more beneficial than shooting.
Mm-hmm. And then there's no map. That drives me nuts because it is pseudo survival horror, but it's a level based survival horror. So you're not running around this space station going back and forth between different areas. It's like, all right, you're here. It's a linear. It's a line, but there's some branches here and there that you can go off and find hidden secrets and whatnot. But it's just basically you go through to the next point and then you keep going. But there's no map, so I can't even tell, like, oh, did I miss anything? Is there anything over here? Is there anything worth it? Should I go this way or that way? And there's been a lot of times where I'm like, I'm going to go here. No, this seems like the way to go. I'm going to go back the other way. And then you go back to the other one. It's like, no, this is definitely the way to go. I got to go backtrack everywhere I just went to go all the way back to find the stuff that I missed on the other side. It's like, oh, look, I missed a 500 credit item. I'm glad I came back here, because then I can upgrade my equipment and upgrade my melee weapon and make myself even stronger and never have to shoot a gun ever again in this game. But yeah, it's good. It's fun. It's I don't want to say it's different, because I mean it's not really different when it comes to, like, I don't know. It doesn't feel too different, but it's like I guess, refreshing to play a level-based game where it is pretty linear. Like, you don't see a lot of games where it's just like, oh, just go through the level anymore.
Is it actual, like... I'm trying to think of the right way to put this. Is it actual levels, or is it just you move into, like, a new, like, area?
Well, it's... I would say it's more levels than just...
Okay.
It'll... When you get to the next area, it'll actually, like, generally load out and come in with, like, a new title to the chapter of the area or whatever.
Okay, I like that.
And so it's like you can't go back. You cannot go back to where you've been. You can only go forward. That's why, to me, I'm like, it's more level based.
Yeah, no, I would agree with that then.
And even Alien Isolation is like that, where like you can't really explore the space station. But from what I played, you go from point A to point B, and then you have to turn around and go back to point A in every location. Which that's just boring because you have to backtrack, and those areas aren't small. There's a lot of load screens to get from one spot to the other. So but this one it's like you go from point A to point B, and then you go from point B to point C, and you can't go back. And it's cool because like a lot more games nowadays are open world. Like I don't know the last time I played, besides like maybe Sifu. I don't know the last time I played a game where it was just like okay, level to level, like Mario, like. I don't know. I can't think of it. Like Sonic, like stuff like that, where it's just like, just each level, do it as best you can.
Yeah. Does it I assume it doesn't give you like grades or scores after like the levels? Like it just kind of goes right into the next one.
No, there's no grading, scoring, or ranking or anything like that. Which is another thing that I really like with the game because it doesn't do video game tropes that kind of, in my opinion, break immersion a little bit. Where it's like, oh, here's how well you did. Here's all the secrets you've missed and stuff like that. And this is what I love, like seeing more of in video games. There's no HUD. Your health is
interesting.
Like your health is like you get an implant in the beginning of the game that shows your health on the back of his neck.
That's this game. Okay.
Yeah. When you get the power armor, that health bar gets a little bit bigger. If you're aiming, the gun itself has a little display on it that tells you where you're aiming, or it's like for the laser and stuff. There's no HUD to this game. It's just you see is what you get. The only like complaint I would have with that is like you're very fucking close to the player. It's a third person. You're very fucking close to the character.
Oh, it's got that like really close, like the camera's kind of zoomed in on the player.
Yeah, it's a third person game, and it feels like he takes up a quarter of the screen, if not more.
Is Dead Space third person?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I've never played that, so I think in my head I just assumed Dead Space was first person.
No, Dead Space is third person, but it's more behind the back and less over the shoulder. Where this is more over the shoulder, if I remember correctly.
That sounds about right. I just know the creative director for Callisto Protocol is also from Dead Space.
Yeah.
But I remember, Dead Space also was very limited HUD, if anything.
Yeah. It was your health bar was your spine
in
Dead Space.
That's cool.
Yeah, that's like something I want to see more of in games is limited HUD. Like I don't know, like I can't remember what it was that I played recently before like these that like was very similar where like there wasn't much of a HUD. There wasn't much of a health bar and stuff like that. Sifu was kind of that way, I think. There was something throughout this year that I played that was like that made me realize like I absolutely love the limited HUD of games.
Yeah, I think it's a thing that kind of depends on the game too, though.
Yeah. Like, I'm definitely not going to play a FromSoft game that doesn't have my health bar. Screw that.
I feel like horror games definitely benefit from limited information.
Absolutely. Maybe it was a horror game that I was playing that made me think of it. No, I don't think so. But yeah, Callisto Protocol is really good. I almost beat it. I
remember it not being very long from what people were saying, like when it came out a couple years ago.
Both Callisto Protocol and Dead Space remake are like sub 10 hours.
Yeah, I think that was one of the things people liked about Callisto Protocol is it didn't overstay its welcome.
Yeah, I think like from what I've seen, reviews are like the game's hit and miss. I know currently on Steam it has overall decent, like overall good reviews, but no, it's overall mixed. But recently, it's mostly positive. I know a lot of the DLC people don't like. I'm not going to bother with the DLC. I don't know what the overall like Metacritic score for Callisto Protocol was, but I do remember it being like people were hyped for it, but then when it came out, it was more of a like you'll like it or you'll hate it kind of thing.
Yeah, I remember like vaguely when the game came out because it came out like the same year as the Dead Space remake, if I remember correctly.
No, maybe no, I don't think so. Callisto was 2022. Dead Space was maybe it was.
So it was January 27th, 2023 was Dead Space.
Yeah.
And Callisto Protocol was December 2022.
Okay.
So they came out within 2 months of each other.
Okay.
But yeah, I remember when Callisto Protocol came out, like some of the podcasts and stuff I listened to, like people were into certain parts of it and super down on others.
Mm-hmm.
But hey, if you're having a good time with it, that's all that matters.
Yeah, I very much enjoy it. I think it's a great game. I think it's a fun game. I wouldn't say it's a great game. I think it's a fun game. I love like the basic general story of the game is straight up he's one day from retirement and all this shit goes down. And I love that. I love that so much. Like the game opens up with you and your friend driving a ship to the planet Callisto to drop off medical supplies and stuff, or to drop off something. You're a shipping ship. And the guy's like not happy about it because there's some sort of bioterrorist attack happening on Europa. And your main character, he's like, look, this is our last job. This is it. Then we're done. We never have to do this again. This is our last job. Of course, the fucking guy, the friend dies right away. You're one day from retirement, man. You never say that. Whenever you're in these situations, never talk about how you're one day from retirement. But it made me laugh, and I love it. I'm like, man, this is like such like a 80s trope, and I love it so much. You're just this close to retirement.
It's a very lethal weapon move.
Yes, very lethal weapon. And it's great. I've enjoyed it a lot. I am excited to get further into it and see how the rest of it plays out.
Nice. You guys have anything else you want to talk about?
Not really.
Not really.
All right.
My Hero season finale just aired this past week.
Oh, maybe we'll try and catch up on it. I know the new Dragon Ball show just started airing,
and next season is the final season of My Hero.
Did they confirmed it?
Literally the end of the episode is like will be continued final season.
Nice. That is good. I'm glad they are not going to drag it out for a whole other season.
I don't know. Fucking Attack on Titan had 4 final seasons.
Yeah, but I think that got so much negative publicity that it's unlikely another show will do that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I guess that will do it for this week then.
Yeah, that'll be it. Nice quick one.
So if you would like to find more of our content, you can head over to www.one-quest.com. You can also help us out by supporting us at patreon.com/onequest. If you can't support us there at your dollars, though, you can go to your favorite podcast platform, Apple Podcasts, Google Pod, YouTube. Go to YouTube, Spotify, rate us, review us, subscribe to us. All of it helps. You can also find us on social media, facebook.com/onequestonline or at @1_quest on Instagram and Twitter. Our YouTube channel is youtube.com/onequestvideo. You can always send us an email to social@one-quest.com. And Rich, what does your streaming look like?
Twitch.tv/B_1. That's where I'm video game streaming Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, and Sunday. Thursdays I don't know what we're going to do for the rest of October Thursday because I completely forgot that we did some State of Decay, and I don't like how they do their multiplayer. So I don't know if we're going to do that more. But, Callisto Protocol and Dead Space Remake will be what we're playing for, throughout the rest of this month. So come check it out.
Nice. And with that, we will be back next week with something else to talk about. Thanks for listening. Bye.
See you.
Bye.